They say new cars are safer, smarter, and more reliable. But some of the latest models are so flawed, they're practically begging for an extended warranty. And that's no exaggeration. From software glitches that kill your dashboard to repairs that cost more than the car is worth, these vehicles are setting buyers up for a financial nightmare. Don't look away. Because buried in this list are top-selling SUVs, luxury EVs, and six-figure disasters that even insurance companies hate to touch. If you're shopping for a new car in 2025, you need to see this first. Let's begin our list with the Jeep Wrangler. I never thought I'd say this, but the Jeep Wrangler might be one of the worst buys in 2025. Sure, it looks like freedom on four wheels, but under that rugged exterior is a pile of expensive problems. The base model starts at $35,000. But top trims like the Rubicon 392, nearly $80,000. That's not just overpriced, it's insane for a vehicle that can barely survive the highway without shaking itself apart. Literally. Owners still report the infamous death wobble, a violent front-end shake at highway speeds that Jeep has tried to fix for years. And the so-called fixes? Most people call them temporary at best. Then there's the Sky One Touch Power Top, which sounds cool until it starts leaking water into your cabin. We're talking puddles forming in the roof panels and soaking into the interior. And if that's not enough, let's talk about electrical chaos. From power windows to dashboard gauges, it's all tied to a fragile component called the Totally Integrated Power Module. If that fails, your Wrangler becomes a very expensive paperweight. Even the tow hooks and suspension parts have been called into question. Not great for a vehicle built to tackle the outdoors. Look, I get the appeal, but for the money, you're better off with a Toyota 4Runner or even a Land Cruiser. They don't have the same image, but they also don't come with a stack of repair bills and insurance headaches. Next on our list, we have the Ford F-150 Hybrid. I never thought I'd put the F-150 on a list like this. It's been America's best-selling truck for over 4 decades. A legend, a workhorse, a no-brainer for buyers until now. The 2025 F-150 Hybrid was supposed to be the smarter, greener version of that legacy. Instead, it turned out to be one of the biggest letdowns of the year. Consumer Reports gave it a reliability score of 8 out of 100. That's not just low, that's you might want to keep a backup vehicle low. Owners report everything from strange engine noises to harsh power transitions, jerky acceleration, and even battery system warnings popping up within the first year. And these aren't isolated cases. Forums are full of frustrated drivers who bought the hybrid thinking they'd save money, but ended up at the dealership over and over again. The powertrain was marketed as seamless, but in reality, it's unpredictable. Sometimes the truck hesitates, sometimes it surges, and when it's not acting up, it just feels underwhelming. Even fuel economy isn't as impressive as promised. Many owners say the real-world MPG barely beats the regular gas version, especially when towing or hauling. And let's not forget repair costs. Hybrid systems are complex, and once you're out of warranty, replacing components like the battery pack or control modules, that'll hit your wallet hard. Only 2 out of 5 owners said they'd buy the hybrid F-150 again. That's a serious blow to Ford's reputation in the truck world. If you're thinking about a hybrid pickup for 2025, this probably isn't the one you want, because nothing's worse than trusting a name you've always believed in, only to end up regretting the moment you drove off the lot. Moving on to the Land Rover Discovery Sport. I knew this one would be on the list. In fact, if I didn't include it, I'd probably get roasted in the comments. The Land Rover Discovery Sport is legendary for all the wrong reasons. Year after year, it ranks near the bottom for reliability, and 2025 is no exception. Consumer Reports gave it a 32 out of 100. That's not just bad, it's what were you thinking territory. You'd expect luxury for the $50,000 plus price tag, but what you get is a stiff, clunky ride that handles like a shopping cart with a flat tire. And the infotainment system? Don't even try. It's slow, glitchy, and frustrating. Think outdated software dressed up in fancy trim. You'll spend more time rebooting than navigating. Inside, it's a mixed bag. Flashy on the surface, but once you sit down, you realize the materials feel cheaper than you'd expect. The layout is awkward, and visibility poor, thanks to thick pillars and odd angles. So who's buying this thing? Honestly, people chasing the brand, not the experience. Because once the new car smell fades, what you're left with is a $60,000 headache, terrible resale value, and more time in the shop than on the road. If you want a real luxury SUV, there are better and more reliable ways to spend your money. Next up, we have the Tesla Cybertruck. Cybertruck. I wanted to love the Cybertruck. I really did. The design? Wild. The hype? Off the charts. But the reality? A $100,000 stainless steel nightmare. Let's start with the recall. Not for a light or a sensor. No. Tesla had to recall over 50,000 Cybertrucks because a piece of exterior trim, the cantrail, could literally fly off while driving. That's not a bug. That's a hazard flying down the highway. And it gets worse. Some trucks have windshield wipers that completely fail. Not ideal in a storm. Others, accelerator pedals that get stuck, forcing the truck to keep accelerating even when your foot's off the gas. Tesla says it's rare, but rare doesn't matter when it's you in the driver's seat and a 6,800-pound wedge of metal won't stop. Then you've got the classic Tesla quality control issues. Misaligned panels, rattling noises, trim that feels rushed. And for what? This truck can cost over $98,000, fully loaded. For that kind of money, you expect perfection, not panel gaps big enough to lose your keys in. Even Tesla diehards are starting to admit, the Cybertruck might be too much, too soon. It's bold, it's flashy, it turns heads, but underneath, it's giving off early beta test energy at luxury car prices. Moving on to the Volkswagen ID.4. Volkswagen said the ID.4 would challenge Tesla. What they didn't say is that you'd spend more time fighting the tech than enjoying the drive. At first glance, the ID.4 seems like a solid EV. It's got the right look, a decent price, and a familiar name behind it. But once you start driving, and more importantly, living with it, things go downhill fast. Let's talk software. Everything in the ID.4, from climate control to driving settings, runs through the central screen. No buttons. And when that screen freezes, you lose access to everything. And it happens often. Owners report random reboots while driving, black screens on startup, and touch controls that lag so badly they make your smartphone from 2012 look fast. One update was so bad, it broke driver assistance features mid-drive. That's not just inconvenient, it's dangerous. Then there's charging. DC fast charging is slow, and even when it works, the port can be finicky. Sometimes it doesn't recognize the charger at all. Now imagine that. In the middle of winter, low battery, and the car won't juice up. You'd expect a German-made vehicle to feel rock solid, but the ID.4 rattles, loose trim, cheap plastics. Volkswagen used to stand for engineering precision. This feels like they cut corners to chase EV hype. And don't think the problems stop with the car. Dealer support is scattered, and owners report long waits for parts, uncertain software fixes, and conflicting service info. All in, a fully loaded ID.4 can creep above $50,000, and yet it delivers the user experience of a beta test. Let's have a look into the Infiniti QX50. I've driven a lot of luxury SUVs, and few feel as forgettable and frustrating as the Infiniti QX50. On the surface, it looks promising. Sculpted lines, tech-heavy cabin, a badge that once stood for premium Nissan performance. But behind the wheel, you're in for a harsh reality check. Let's start with the variable compression turbo engine, Infiniti's big brag. It's supposed to give you the torque of a V6 with the fuel economy of a 4-cylinder. But in real life, it's laggy, inconsistent, and delivers neither performance nor efficiency. You push the gas and wait. Then it finally kicks in, awkwardly. It's a strange delay that makes the QX50 feel disconnected and underwhelming. And the steering? Completely numb. No feedback, no feel, just a vague sense of where you're going. For a luxury SUV, that's a deal breaker, especially when rivals like the Genesis G570 or Acura RDX feel sharper, smoother, and way more refined. Inside, the cabin tries to look upscale, but dig a little deeper, and it's full of outdated design choices, odd screen layouts, and materials that don't match the $45,000 plus sticker price. And here's where it really hurts: resale value. The QX50 depreciates fast, faster than most luxury SUVs in its class. You finance one today, and in just a few years, you might owe more than it's worth. Worse, Infiniti's dealer network is shrinking, and support can feel spotty. That means longer waits, limited inventory for parts, and a brand that feels like it's slowly pulling away from the US market. So what are you left with? A luxury SUV that doesn't drive like luxury, doesn't hold its value, and doesn't feel future-proof. It's not just a missed opportunity. It's a textbook example of how high-tech marketing doesn't always translate into real-world satisfaction. Next on the list, we have the Jeep Grand Cherokee. The Jeep Grand Grand Cherokee used to be a symbol of rugged luxury. Now, it's one of the most regret-filled purchases of 2025. Let's be real, it looks great on the outside. Strong stance, sharp interior, loaded with features. But underneath, it's a mess. A very expensive mess. Consumer Reports gave it a shocking 25 out of 100 for reliability, one of the lowest scores in the entire midsize SUV category. And it's not just the number, it's the stories behind it. Owners are reporting repeat trips to the dealership for things like engine misfires, infotainment failures, and glitches that leave warning lights flashing for no reason. One person even said, 4 service visits, and they still couldn't tell me what's wrong. Imagine dropping over $40,000 and still driving something that feels unstable, buggy, and incomplete. That's the Grand Cherokee experience for way too many people right now. The tech package? Impressive at first glance, but prone to freezing, crashing, or refusing to boot at all. Some owners have even had ADAS features like lane keeping and adaptive cruise fail mid-drive. And don't get too comfortable behind the wheel either. Transmission hesitation, harsh downshifts, and random jerks make this SUV feel more like a beta prototype than a finished product. All of this would be frustrating in a budget vehicle, but for something marketed as a premium, all-purpose SUV, it's a flat-out betrayal. If you're looking at the Grand Cherokee and thinking, it can't be that bad, trust me, I thought the same thing. But once the problems start, they don't stop, and neither do the repair bills. Last but not least, we have the Tesla Model 3 base version. It's hard to believe, but the same car that once redefined the EV market is now becoming one of the biggest buyer regrets of 2025. The Tesla Model 3, especially the base rear-wheel drive version, looks great on paper. Sleek design, fast acceleration, and a price under $42,000. But here's the truth, what you see isn't always what you get. Let's start with the build quality, because it's still a problem. We're talking paint defects, panel gaps, trim pieces coming loose, and interior rattles, all in a brand new car. It doesn't stop there. Owners have reported suspension issues that make the ride harsh and uncomfortable, especially on rough pavement. And this isn't just about comfort, it affects how confident the car feels at speed. And then there's the tech, which should be Tesla's strong point, but instead, screen freezes, camera glitches, Bluetooth drops, and voice command failures are still all too common. And because everything is controlled through the screen, even basic stuff like defrost or lights, when the system bugs out, you lose control of the entire car's functionality. And here's the kicker, the value just doesn't hold up. For only a few $1,000s more, you can get the Model Y, which has more space, more features, and all-wheel drive. That makes the base Model 3 feel like Tesla's budget placeholder, not a flagship EV. Owners are also reporting long wait times for service, parts delays, and inconsistent repair quality. You expect better support when buying into a cutting-edge brand, but Tesla's service network is still struggling to catch up. Yes, it's fast. Yes, it looks great. But at this point, the base Model 3 feels like a gamble, and not one most buyers want to take again. If you're financing an EV and expecting peace of mind, the base Model 3 is a reminder that the future can still be full of old problems. That wraps up our list of the worst new cars on sale. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.